Well, the United States is seeking to reach a peace agreement and then provide security guarantees to Ukraine. According to Politico, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio informed European allies about this. The publication cites a European diplomat and a person familiar with the course of the negotiations as its sources. The publication adds that Ukraine considers Western security guarantees to be the foundation of any possible agreement with Russia. Politico notes that the White House emphasized that any final peace plan will include security guarantees. The war with Russia, however, should not end with Ukraine's capitulation. This was stated by German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius amid the intensification of peace negotiations. He warned against forcing Ukraine into unilateral territorial concessions and emphasized that the country must be able to defend itself in the future. And joining us now is Bogdan Ferenc, candidate.
Anything that affects the future of European states, NATO, or the European Union should not be discussed or decided over our heads. In other words, we decide our own future, and there should be no false peace for Ukraine. No peace that means capitulation. Boris Pistorius, the German Minister of Defense.
That was Boris Pistorius, and joining us now is Bogdan Ferenc, International Affairs Specialist. Bogdan, welcome.
Thank you.
So we have a certain perspective, yes, from the American side at the moment regarding first the peace agreement, then security guarantees. I would also like to draw attention to another aspect. This is what the Kremlin insists on. The Kremlin says first a peace agreement, then a ceasefire. How many successful cases can we recall right now where first a peace agreement was signed and only then did the ceasefire happen? Because I can list plenty of opposite situations right now, starting with the Korean War, where a peace agreement still hasn't been signed, but the fighting is stopped. So,
That is, the ceasefire regime in the case of the two Koreas is indeed still in place. But again, it all comes down to the positions of the sides and their vision of how to move forward to achieve a result. The result is the end of the war. So yes, together with our close and trusted partners from European countries, primarily NATO and EU member states, we firmly consider the ongoing ceasefire regime, as well as robust and credible security guarantees, to be an integral part of the process and mechanism for ending Russia's war. Because again, we believe that these elements are fundamental to at least understanding what comes next. That is, because all the search for options also concerns the future, no matter how uncertain that future may be. But it's also important to understand that the day after, when, for example, a ceasefire is established, it also needs to be defined. How do we move forward and ensure, for instance, that the Russian Federation does not resume hostilities against us and its aggression does not attack us again, right? And here, the United States of America plays a truly key and significant role because they genuinely are the country that has direct and substantial influence and can provide the necessary mechanisms and essential tools that would even preemptively allow the aggressor to better understand what consequences might follow. For example, a renewed attack or another assault.
Mr. Bogdan, we still have 2 minutes left. I really want to hear your perspective. Do you see, well, in general, such scenarios in these crossroads where Donald Trump says to Vladimir Putin, that's it, enough. We will definitely discuss all your, excuse the slang, wish lists, but let's stop the shooting and see what happens next.
Well, that didn't work. There was an attempt like that. I mean, the positioning, if we rewind a bit, was especially, again, from the leaders of European countries, basically the Americans. And even Trump was definitely not against ensuring a ceasefire first, so that there wouldn't be so many killings by the Russian Federation, ideally none at all, and only then to move directly toward ending the Russian war and defining the parameters of Europe's future architecture. Because this isn't just about our sovereignty or territorial integrity, it's about our shared European security future. So, in fact, that's exactly the context in which such attempts were made. But instead, unfortunately, the Russian Federation rejected them, and a ceasefire was not established. So, right now, the discussion is more about expanding these points, which are already almost universally known and being discussed regarding ending the Russian war. And an integral part of that is ensuring a ceasefire.
Mr. Bodden, as always, we are very grateful to you for your interpretation and explanations. Bogdan Ferenc, PhD in political science and international affairs expert, was with us.